Hello and welcome to And Still We Rise. I'm your host, Christine Seidel. And today we have Allison Robinson who is joining us, and we are talking about conscious dating. Welcome, Allison.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yes. Well, before we begin, let me read just a little bit of bio on Allison, and then we'll kind of jump into our topic. Allison has a 12-year background in the construction industry, working primarily in sales. After going on her own healing journey with the help of a counselor and a few specialized coaches, she made the decision to change her career paths due to the dramatic changes in her life once she began. She began her journey back to school as a recently divorced single mom at the University of Phoenix, where she got her degree in industrial organizational psychology. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
She utilized skills and lessons learned to build her own business on consulting and coaching small businesses, and began to provide coaching to individuals who seek guidance navigating their careers, dating, and relationships. She's currently in her graduate program at Liberty University, becoming a licensed professional counselor in clinical mental health. As she works to complete her program, she is seeing clients as a master's level clinician at Rise Therapy Center. She sees clients of all ages and works with clients with anxiety, depression, personality disorders, PTSD, level 1 autism, and is experienced in play therapy. She also loves working with couples and clients who are coming up for help navigating dating and relationships because it provides a window to the relationship with the self. This provides clients with help navigating relationship problems while also learning more about themselves and growing in every area of their life. Welcome, Allison. Such
Thank
a
you.
like vast level of experience, and I've had the privilege of working with Allison at Rise through supervision and consultation, and I have to say her perspective on relationships and the self is so deep and wide, and she's been just a wealth of information and great support to her clients. So I can't wait to talk about dating today. So,
hmm
with that being said, dating is, I don't know if it's a four-letter word, but it feels like that sometimes in this culture, and it's been such a complicated thing for people who are navigating the dating world as they seek connection and relationship. So, how would you describe conscious dating? Like, what is it? Why is it important to talk about?
Yeah, so conscious dating is intentional dating. It's knowing what qualities you want in a partner and making sure that the partner that you choose matches your goals, your values, and can help you also get what you want out of life. So you're growing together in partnership. So a lot of people will date because they want love and they want a companion, and that's wonderful. That's a human need. We're built to be social creatures. However, that's not the only thing that's important in a relationship. We
Mm-hmm.
want to have someone that help us grow our lives, help us become better people, and help us reach our goals.
It's so true. And I feel like, when we're developmentally at an age for dating, usually, like in high school where we have a little bit more freedom,
Mhm.
it was so simple. It feels like back then where it was like, oh, we have a lot of similarities and this, that, and the other. But as you've had life experiences and relationships that have been unsuccessful, it is really important to become a lot more, you know, conscious and intentional about how you're showing up in dating. And, there's a lot of different narratives and
Mhm.
ways that people want to tell you how to do it. So before we even can step into dating, what do you think is so important to kind of start with?
The self,
Yeah.
the self. You want to make sure that your relationship with yourself is healthy and
Mm-hmm.
growing in self-love. Because, the beautiful thing about that is we attract what we feel about ourselves. And,
Mm-hmm.
some people feel like there's a spiritual level to that, but there's also a rational level because when we love ourselves, we're not going to put up with someone who makes us feel bad about ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
also, when we put that self love into ourselves and grow our self concept and just grow holistically as a person, we're more likely to meet someone who's also done that work because they're
Mm-hmm.
likely to be dating consciously and intentionally and evaluating you just the same as you're evaluating them.
I think that's such a key component of dating is are you a vessel for what it is that you want in somebody else? And I think so many times in conversations with people as they're navigating the difficulties and probably having patterns of relationships, they'll be like,
Mhm.
I want somebody to make me feel this, that, or the other. And that's
Mhm.
such a dangerous territory to go into because if you don't feel that intrinsically, how can somebody make you feel that externally? So you're right. I think that is really important to do that self work. So what would you say are the key components of doing that self work?
So when I was kind of starting my journey, I had a counselor tell me to make an ice cream sundae.
Mm,
And to do that, she was like, view relationships as the sprinkles on top. So you've
hmm
already got your ice cream, you got your chocolate syrup, you got all the toppings, all of that stuff. And the the person that you're dating is just adding to what you already have. So
hmm
you already are building that foundation of safety within yourself. You're working on yourself to making sure that your safety needs are met. Housing, food, and also like going into like a sense of belonging with social connections, and just kind of creating an environment where you feel fulfilled before you
hmm
start dating.
Yeah, I like that narrative of you know, date yourself first or like enjoy
Hmm.
your own company first. In my own experiences, kind of getting out of a very toxic relationship and spending so much time with like myself and, feeling and hearing myself again without the enmeshment of a relationship and working with my therapist to kind of remember like who I am outside of that enmeshment. It really became, I genuinely enjoyed my company. I thought it was
Hmm.
hilarious. I thought my jokes were so funny. And it, when I was ready to begin dating, I had to like be like, okay, so if I'm gonna go out with people, it has to be that I genuinely want to enjoy their company too. Like if I'm gonna leave my own company with myself and like my kids and my community, it would have to be somebody that I genuinely enjoyed it just as much or more,
Hmm.
so I think that is such an important component is learning that sundae, there's so much underneath that cherry. There's so much sweetness and goodness that you have to
Hmm.
explore before the relationship gets to be that extra component to it. And that's healthy, to take time to do that, to hear yourself again, to like
Hmm.
remember what it is that you bring to the world and therefore to a relationship. So I love that. I love it. And
Yeah.
the ice cream sundae, really does go with those like hierarchy of needs. So what would
Hmm.
be like the foundational like components that you would want to see within yourself before you step out into consciously dating?
Yeah, so you'd want to make sure that you have enough money to support yourself, and this is something that I especially stress to women because I see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women who are stuck in toxic relationships because they feel like they can't leave financially. Another
Mm-hmm.
thing is the social aspect. If someone feels isolated, they don't have that sense of belonging in a community, then they're going
Yeah.
to stay in situations that may not even be necessarily toxic, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
really good for them. They're not growing. They are not getting their needs met. So I think those are definitely the biggest things, is
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you feel safe and secure, you have enough money to support yourself, you have that social connection, and then going up in the hierarchy of the Maslow's pyramid, we got a self-actualization. We
Mm-hmm.
feel confident about ourselves, we have self-esteem to where, if someone's talking badly about us, it's just like that's not me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
and you're just
Yeah.
gonna like not tolerate that. And
Mm-hmm.
I liked how you mentioned the toxic relationship because when I
Mm-hmm.
think about the Sunday, I think about you built it, And what if there's like some poisonous sprinkles out there? And you got this great
Mm-hmm.
sundae. Like you're not gonna you
Mm-hmm.
built the sundae for maybe months, years you're working to create it, you know?
Yeah.
And you're gonna evaluate, okay, like let me like check this brand. Let me do
Yes.
my due
Yeah.
diligence here.
Does this have an expiration date on it that has
Yeah.
passed?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you have a happy life, you're feeling
Yeah.
fulfilled, and you want to protect that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that, when you talk about like safety, like, and really
Mhm,
being, you know, do almost like an assessment of your life, take an inventory of like,
mhm,
how secure and stable is my foundation, meaning my
mhm,
finances, my relationships with, those that are vulnerable that I'm here to protect, like really taking an inventory of, am I in a very safe and stable place that I can't be influenced to, because I need security. And I think that's a very important thing to take an inventory on. And your comment about belonging and having community, sometimes like we can get caught up, in somebody's narrative. And that's why I say it's really important to date somebody over a period of time to see consistently who they are before you jump into like a major commitment. Community helps us see the things that maybe we don't see. And if we don't have a sense of belonging, a sense of community that's very protective of us, and we belong to that, and we are one with them, we may not have that chamber that is going to send the messages to us that, like, hey, like, I'm not okay with the way that they treated you in this, that's concerning to me, or hey, that's a really good person, like,
mhm,
I love that they, like, showed up for you in that way. Like, they're going to echo what it is that we need to hear. But if we don't have that, we get stuck in this like vacuum of just whatever the interaction is between the two. So I think, safety and belonging have to be there before we can step
mhm,
out. And I love the sprinkles. Like, everything we have underneath it is so sweet and it's so good and it's so yummy. Whatever we
mhm,
put on top of it, we want to make sure is adding to it, and that
mhm,
it hasn't passed its expiration date, or we're not allergic to it. Like, we look like at the toppings, we're like, let me see what
mhm.
there is, and let me choose, so that it doesn't take something that I'm really excited about and turns it into something that ends up, being gross, and I throw it away.
Yeah.
Which I feel like sometimes we have to do that. So when you are like at that place where you've done some self work, you feel confident going into the dating world, you have the community and the safety. How do you start focusing on dating? Like, how do you take
Yeah.
those steps?
So, something that I did was I kind of broke it down into different categories. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, how do I want to feel in a relationship? What are the emotions that I want to feel? What
Mm-hmm.
qualities do I want in a person? And those lists they're fine-tuned over time as you're dating and
Mm-hmm.
learning. And another thing too is before you even start thinking about what qualities you want, what do you want out of life? What are your passions? What are your goals? What are your interests? What do
Yeah.
you value? Are you someone who really values like social causes? You know,
Mm-hmm.
is that important to you where you want someone who is also very socially proactive and then you guys can
Mm-hmm.
grow in that together? And something that I went into when I was being very intentional was I was like, okay, as I'm dating, I want to make sure that this is adding, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, though, I also wanted to create a life where, at the end of it, whenever that may be, I can look back, whether or not I ever meet a partner, and say that was a life well lived.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm.
I enjoyed that. I love who I am. I love what I did. I love the experiences that I had. I love
Mm-hmm.
I've loved and been loved. Maybe even
Mm-hmm.
not in the romantic sense.
Yeah. And I think that that's so key, is like really understanding that concept of interdependence, that,
Hmm.
our, goal in a relationship is not to become like dependent and codependent. What we want interdependence, meaning like we
Hmm.
have such a sense of self that we go out in this world and we live with intention and we serve with purpose and we are lit up in the things that we are doing and being and bringing forth. And then we come to the relationship and that's where we get to share like in the richness of that and we get to dwell in theirs and they in ours and you know but ultimately it's to be in this world as yourself, full of life and content in how you're navigating it and
Hmm.
being really clear on what it is that you want to experience within a relationship. And I love that you didn't say, well, I want them to make me feel this way. That you're like, how do I
Hmm.
want to feel in a relationship? How do I want to be embodied while experiencing a relationship? Okay, so we've kind of talked about the self and like how we want to be and like within a relationship, how we want to feel, how we want to be able to be in this world. So, okay, now the good stuff. How do we start looking towards potential partners?
Well, now that we've kind of evaluated like what you want out of life, what your values and goals are, where is someone like that going to be? Are you going to meet them at the gym? Are you going to meet them at networking events? Are you just going to be like out and about, or some type of hobby? Because if you're dating someone or you want to dating someone that has similar goals and values, you're likely going to meet them doing what you already like to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's interesting that you're saying that is like so people get very fixated on you know meeting somebody. They're like, we're so similar, we really we love the same things, we have the same beliefs, we're on the same page in politics, this that and the other, and then they ultimately get bored or they're like, oh, I met somebody, it's just like this insane chemistry and there's so much passion and yet like completely dissimilar people. So how do
Mhm.
you know you could go and you could look at all these similar places, but like how do you determine what's a healthy connection, what's not a healthy connection?
So that just takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
You're also asking them the questions, like as you're
Mm-hmm.
going through the dating process, you're having these conversations, like where do you want to go in life? Like what makes you happy? Like what dislikes do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a while. And I try to tell people try to wait 3 months before you fall, and that's hard,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like reel it back in for at least 3 months as much as you can because you really don't know someone until you've
Mm-hmm.
dated them for at least 3 months and then you're still learning. But
Yeah.
especially like the first few dates, like I'll talk to people and they're like, oh my God, like we had our first or second date and he's so great, like all this stuff. And I'm like, he's still a stranger, you know? You
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he could be amazing. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
discounting that possibility, but like let's reel it back in and
Mm-hmm.
keep vetting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because something that happens is we get in this fixed mindset and
Mm-hmm.
we meet this person and we identify with them as being amazing. We create this story around it. And then they
Yeah.
start acting in ways that are not amazing. But we discount
Mm-hmm.
those truths because we're like, no, like he's great. And
Mm-hmm.
then and then it can take years sometimes for people to realize, like, oh my gosh, like I fell
Yeah.
in love with a fantasy.
Yeah. That was actually very short in the season of getting to know somebody. And I heard somebody once say, like, we have three different ways of looking at like our intimate relationships. We have like compatibility, where we really do have a lot of similarities. We can navigate a lot of life's highs and lows in ways that like support a relationship. Then we have chemistry, which is like this intense passion and this really
Hmm.
drawing together, but could also have like, some strong pulls back, like some retractions and contractions. But what we're really seeking is the thing that's in between in the Venn diagram, and that's connection, which means that
Hmm.
we can be and navigate life in a very compatible way, but not so much that it negates the chemistry and the passion as a relationship waxes and wanes through that facet of the relationship. And what that does is it builds this really beautiful connection that it's not stuck in something that is so fixed and rigid that the compatibility has to last the entire, length of
Hmm.
the relationship, and the chemistry doesn't have to last the entire length of our lives, but that we can wax and wane in those areas, because ultimately what we've built is this connection, which takes time to build. It takes different situations and life's highs and lows to navigate together to see what you have in those areas. And
Hmm.
I think that's probably one of the best pieces of advice, is that you really do need to see who somebody is over a period of time and build that consistency of who they are and who you are
Hmm.
in that relationship, or in those interactions. So, um, so you said something about like going to similar places. How do you do this if you're on dating apps? The
Oh,
question that everybody wants to know.
yes. Dating apps. I think it's if you can, I think it's
Hmm.
better to meet people in person.
Hmm.
I think that there's just a higher success rate there, and
Hmm.
um, and I'm not negating dating apps. I've talked to people and they're like, oh no, like I met my husband on Tinder, like we knew first night, and it's like that's that's great, and that happens
Hmm.
frequently. But I
Hmm.
think when we look at all the matches that we get on dating apps, like the
Hmm.
numbers of success are still pretty low versus
Hmm.
the people that kind of meet people out, just kind of living life, doing the things that they like.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like that kind of goes to like knowing yourself,
Hmm.
and like, regardless of what area you step into, like know
Hmm.
yourself. And so what about like if you're looking for a partner, you're looking for the qualities, the similarities, what's important
Hmm.
to know about in terms of like what you're not willing to accept?
I think knowing like what you're not willing to change about yourself too.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
because there's some people that they have different things that they want out of life, and they might
Hmm.
want someone who is more reserved, and you might have a big personality, and they might be like, you know what, I don't like you going out with your friends that much. I don't like what you're wearing. And then you might say, like, is this something that I'm willing to compromise on? Like,
Hmm.
is this something that I want to change about myself? So
Hmm.
that can be like something that's kind of like, you know what, I just don't think we're compatible. And
Yeah.
another thing too is creating like a list of just things that you're just not willing to put up with anymore. Like, I
Hmm.
am not okay with being cursed at. Like, that's like
Hmm.
first time we're done. I don't want to be screamed
Hmm.
at first time we're done. Um,
Hmm.
and cheating is another big thing, you know,
Yeah.
first, we're just over at that point.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and just being very specific with what you will and will not put up with, because that helps us as we're dating. We have that list, and we meet someone and they're really amazing, but they have this
Yeah.
one thing, and that's on our list
Hmm.
of no's. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, I told myself before I met this person this was something I was not going to put up with, and then
Hmm.
you might have to cut someone off that you actually really love,
Yeah.
and it's hard. But
Yeah.
you have to be confident in yourself that you can also meet someone with those same qualities that you really like about that person, but that also
Hmm.
doesn't do that thing that you're just not willing to deal with anymore.
Well, and I think that's a really important step, that like if you are in a situation in life where you do need to utilize online dating or matchmaking or dating apps,
Hmm.
that you're very, very clear on what you are not willing to allow into your life with somebody. Like if somebody has this quality or those qualities, or you have an interaction that, mirrors something that maybe it's not on your list, but you're like, that feels very similar to, that
Hmm.
you are quick to move through not giving any too much time or attention. I know when I went into dating, it was very intentional to have phone calls or, coffee dates or whatever as quick meetups. And something that continued to show up with a lot of people I was going on these dates with was just taking these like micro digs at me being a therapist, which
Mm.
I knew was like their way of trying to or maybe they felt really insecure about the fact that that's what I did. But I was very quick to be like, I'm sorry, this is not going to work. I'm not going to allow somebody to take something that I find such passion and purpose and mission in, to kind of like take digs at it. Just that's immature and shows insecurity. And so I was very quick to like move out of that because I
Mhm.
understood the dating apps have a lot of people on there that, good or not so good, are not going to be good matches for me. And so it was once you're clear on what those qualities are and you see them and you allow yourself the and give yourself permission to like release that sooner than later, even if you've had good conversations in the past, that helps you really, you know, hold a space for not being able to participate in a dating in a dynamic that has a lot of like unhealthy people out there. Like you said, meeting somebody organically has a higher rate of relationships because people are organically going out there investing in something that
Mhm.
they value. Whereas dating apps and online dating, the only investment is just a page and the monthly subscription fee you're paying, and there's not a real investment in that. But there, I'm sure, are good people out there. But I think that's a really
Mhm.
good point of, when you are clear in what you're not willing to accept and you take action from that place, you're going to
Mhm.
move through dating in a healthier way than not.
Yeah, and something about dating apps. I'm not knocking them. I think they definitely have their
Mm-hmm.
place. Something that was told to me when I was kind of on dating apps and then going out and trying to meet people organically as well is using dating apps as kind of like practice
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
practice dates. And it's the same way when you're meeting people organically, but I think that the dating apps have a little bit more of that practice
Yes.
aspect because you're getting more reps in. And
Mm-hmm.
while you're doing that, you're practicing how you're vetting these people. You're
Yeah.
learning more about yourself. What qualities do you really like? Because I remember one time I met someone and we were super compatible, like super, super good connection. But there was like one thing where we just like, long distance, we're like, we're not willing to tolerate that, not willing to move.
Mm-hmm.
But I took that and I was like, I really like all of these qualities about this person. So I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to take that knowledge and I'm going to find someone like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great way to look at them, especially for people who maybe have very rigid like beliefs around dating, like maybe while they're
Mhm.
doing some of that work around like I only date this type of person, they have to be this tall. Like going and just meeting and talking to people in the space of dating. One of my really good friends I met and went on a date with, and we're like, we're actually like kind of friends. Like this feels like a good friend
Mhm.
vibe and has ended up being a really great part of my support system. So like I love that you say practice. It's just getting out there and being in the energy of dating and learning
Mhm.
more about yourself through who and what qualities you can really like find attractive and desire, but also what's like not for you and you're not going to like tolerate or give or invest any more time in. So I think, yeah, not knocking the dating apps. I think everybody who's been in who's been in the dating game and have done dating apps would understand they would
For
love to meet
sure.
somebody organically. But yes, it's definitely something that can be used as a tool. So red flags, green flags, yellow flags, since we're talking about dating
Mm,
apps, and I think those two go
yes,
together.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So, yeah, a big thing that you want to look out for is being love bombed. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is one of the biggest red flags where someone, it's first date and like, oh my gosh, like I want to marry you, like I want to take you here, I want to do this. And like as you start dating more and kind of learning patterns, it's like you'll see that
Yeah.
those people fizzle out quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like they start out
Mm-hmm.
real hot and heavy, but you really should be growing in love and connection. It should not start
Mm.
out like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
intense. And and then also looking out for things like, do they put you down? What's
Hmm.
their relationship like with their mother is a huge one, mother and father, because how
Hmm.
they feel about their parents, whether it's they were absolutely perfect or they were, the worst people. Both of those extremes can tell you a lot about how they're going to interact with you
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
coming from a woman's perspective and dating men, if his mom can do no wrong and she's a perfect person, the pattern that I learned was I'll never be able to meet that
Hmm.
standard. If she was the worst
Hmm.
person and could do nothing right, then I was going to be punished through her. Like his relationship with his
Hmm.
mom,
Hmm.
I was always going to be wrong. And so
Yeah.
that can tell us a lot. Kind of being able to view parents as not being black and white, but like, oh, they have these amazing qualities, but they also they traumatized me in these ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of not talking about extreme examples of abuse and neglect because that's a whole different
Sure.
conversation.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah. So, yeah, just learning about those things. How do they treat people when you're like going out? Um, how
Hmm.
are they kind to the waitress? Do they hold the door for like the next person walking in? Just little
Right.
things
Right.
that you can pick up on, and how they talk about other people.
Hmm.
Because sometimes, especially with those people who tend to love bomb, they are talking very highly about you. And
Hmm.
if you notice, sometimes they're like really mean and they talk negatively about everybody else. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how you can tell that difference sometimes because, it's not genuine. Because how could
Hmm.
they be so infatuated with you right off the get-go that have all this
Yeah.
hate for so many people?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it is. It's really important in that dating phase to really listen to what are their relationships with the people that are in their lives. So parents, friends, past
Hmm.
partners, like how do they talk about past partners? What is their if they have children, what is their relationship with children? So really looking to hear and understand what is this person's relationship with other people that would be part of that community, and
Hmm.
like you said, black, not having that black and white, but showing the spectrum of perspectives of being like, yeah, it didn't work out with us, we had this, that, and the other go on in our relationship, but we've really learned how to navigate co-parenting our child or whatever. Can they see the reality of relationships, or is it all in an extreme? And yes, how do they treat other people? how do they
Hmm.
how do they navigate conflict?
Hmm.
Like how quickly do they want to commit? That's a big one too. I think one of the most interesting things in my own journey, in finding my partner, was that when he realized he wanted to date exclusively, he was like, "Hey, I just want you to know I'm really not going to entertain dating anybody else, but you take the time you need, and I just want you to know that's where I'm at." And that was nice, like to still have
Hmm.
permission in the relationship. That was, I was still needing to see who he was and other people were over a period of time, and that was very mature. It was a mature thing to say, that he didn't need my commitment, that he was just disclosing that this was where he was at, and I could come to that at the point that I was ready. And if I wasn't, that I just needed to communicate that. And I was like, wow, that's actually really nice, and it was an appropriate amount of time. So I think, yes,
Hmm.
not trying to get something from the other person too quickly at too high of a level. Those are definitely big red flags to be watching out for. And ultimately, understanding their attachment patterns. I think that goes to like what you're saying with family members, relationship with family members, is do they understand themselves in a relationship? And if they don't, that's a big red flag, because that will play out over and over and over again. So I think
Hmm.
those are
Yeah.
great things to really be looking out for. And, probably, what are some of their what behaviors are you noticing? What things are popping up? Are they talking about financial hardships? Are they talking about like negative mindset? Are you seeing these things play out? But again, you don't see that unless you're giving them a period of time for that to play out with some consistency. So all
Yeah.
great things to be looking out for. So can you tell me some green flags that we can actually be like, yay?
Yes, yes. Aware of their flaws and willing to
Mm,
share them is
wow.
a
Yeah.
huge thing. Um, so you definitely shared a green flag with your partner,
Hmm.
where he was like, hey, like this is where I'm at. But he gave you that autonomy and that time to choose and didn't view you as like an object to possess. It was like, I'm going to give you time.
Yeah.
And that was something that my current partner did with me as well. As we had those
Mm,
conversations. You know, maybe we're not ready to like commit in a relationship, but like, I'm not really seeing anyone else at the moment, type of
mhm,
thing. But we're still
mhm,
kind of evaluating each other. Um, and you mentioned attachment too, and
mhm,
being aware of attachment patterns is like a huge thing,
mhm.
because my current partner too, he tends to be avoidant, and he shared that with me. He's like, this is my pattern. I'm working through it.
Yeah.
Let me know if you ever feel
Mm,
that from me so that I can adjust. And
wow.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
and
amazing. Yeah.
so yeah, and not only that, but like just other like, hey, like with my partner too, I have ADHD. I'm very like my space seems disorganized sometimes because I function better when I see everything out. And I'm like, hey, like this, like I get like messy sometimes. Let me know if it's ever
Hmm.
too much. And he's like, no, I'll
Mm.
just work around that. Like, we'll put up and like with flaws that, we might not like about each other
Yeah.
necessarily. It's like no, like I still love every part of you. I'm just gonna create like little barriers for like so that
Yeah.
we can compromise
Hmm.
and feel fulfilled. So they're not going to be like putting you down for things that
Right.
are just a part of you. They're just like, okay, like how's a way that we can work around this issue together, and it's not attack.
Mm. Yeah. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, especially when you step into the space of vulnerability to acknowledge something about
Hmm.
yourself that maybe is something in the past somebody else has maybe attacked you on or whatever, and
Hmm.
somebody meets you with grace and meets
Hmm.
you with you know permission to be yourself and solutions on how to protect the relationship within that. So all good stuff. I know we're kind of running out of time, but we have so much more to talk about in dating.
I know
So
we do.
oh, I know, and it's one of those things that it's a hot topic, and there are so many people out there that will be like, "Well, this is my program you have to follow," and I know we kind of want to get into that too. So I feel like we need like part two, part three, part
We
four.
do.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, just
Yeah, I think
to get
so.
deeper into it. Yeah. So I know we
Yeah.
definitely want to talk about like conscious commitment coming up, but I think it would be great to talk about like a little bit more in that dating phase and then how to get to that
Mhm.
conscious commitment. So for everybody out there, thank you for listening. Know that we're having a part two and probably part three coming out, but I am going to put, Allison's contact information, her socials. I've known Allison for a couple of years, and I have to tell you, she is very tenacious in her own self work, which has made her such a great resource for others who are doing this. And I know she works with couples, she works with individuals, she works with children, especially understanding that attachment component. So please feel free to reach out, schedule an appointment with her, a consult. She's just a ray of sunshine when it comes to helping you navigate just your concept of self and how to be in healthy relationships. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Allison, thank you for joining us. I can't wait to have you
Thank you
back.
for having me. Thanks.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next time.